My property line had always been sacred, but when the HOA's contracted surveyors marched right past my meticulously placed boundary stones, I felt a white-hot fury I hadn't known since high school. Are they serious right now? This wasn't just a simple mistake. This was Brenda Peterson, the reigning Homeowners Association president, read dictator. Pushing her agenda, trying to prove my expansive, non-standard lot was somehow violating her precious architectural uniformity. I looked at the vast, overgrown section of my back 40, and a dangerous, cinematic idea began to bloom in my mind. If they trespass looking for order, I'll give them utter chaos. Brenda had been a thorn in my side since I moved in, sending petty violation notices about the color of my mailbox. Too deep blue, apparently, and the unacceptable natural growth of my wildflowers. Gasp. I could practically feel her judgmental glare from 3 houses away, a cold, piercing sensation right on the back of my neck. What a nightmare, right? But this time, trespassing on the very edge of my registered 10-acre plot that crossed a line, a literal physical line. I spent 2 sleepless nights, the smell of burnt coffee and printer toner heavy in the air, poring over zoning laws and property deeds, my heart pounding a nervous rhythm against my ribs. That's when I found the delicious, obscure clause in the county charter. Any privately owned plot over 5 acres could be officially registered as a recreational agricultural structure, provided it met certain criteria, which, wonderfully, included mazes and labyrinthine gardens. Could this actually work? The thought made me snicker, a low, dry sound that felt deeply satisfying. Over the next few weeks, I worked tirelessly but subtly. I used specialized, fast-growing sorghum and maize I'd ordered online, the kind that shoots up 6 feet in 2 months, planting thick, dense rows along precisely plotted coordinates. The paths weren't random. They followed an intricate, mathematically sound pattern, designed for maximum confusion with minimal dead ends, a true, solvable labyrinth, but one where the walls were 8 feet high and completely opaque. I made sure to leave the original legal boundary markers, the iron stakes untouched, hidden now behind a wall of green, and registered the entire plot, filing the paperwork with a flourish. The day the Homeowners Association letter arrived confirming their mandatory boundary resurvey was scheduled, a genuine thrill shot through me. I let out a long, slow breath, tasting the metallic anticipation on my tongue. Game on, Brenda. Get ready for a field trip. The morning of the survey, the air hung heavy and humid, the kind of stillness that precedes a summer storm, and I watched the spectacle unfold from my second-story window, sipping iced tea. A white Homeowners Association van pulled up, followed by a sleek black SUV, Brenda's, naturally. 2 young surveyors in khakis looked nervous, wiping sweat from their brows, while Brenda, wearing sunglasses the size of small saucers, stood at the edge of the property, arms crossed. Well, what are you waiting for, gentlemen? Get in there and get this irregularity documented, she barked, her voice sharp enough to cut glass, even from a distance. The surveyors, Steve and Mark, hesitantly stepped past the stone wall, into the first wide path of the maze. I could hear the faint, dry rustle of the leaves as they passed. They were laughing lightly at first, joking about the big cornfield, completely unaware that they had just entered my trap. It took them about 20 minutes to realize their GPS devices were giving conflicting readings. The dense foliage was playing havoc with the signal. I watched Steve stop, turn 360 degrees, and pull his hat off, running a hand over his hair. What's the matter, buddy? Losing your bearings? Then Brenda decided to intervene. This is ridiculous. Why are you just standing there? Go straight, she yelled, marching past the nervous boys. That was her first mistake. The maze looked straight, but every 50 feet, a subtle S-curve began, gently nudging the traveler 20 degrees off their initial course. After another half-hour, the comedy turned to genuine frustration. I could hear their muffled voices shouting, "Mark, I can see the fence line. Wait, no, that's our van. We just walked in a circle, didn't we?" One shouted, laced with exasperation. Brenda, deep inside the maze now, was completely out of sight. The defining moment came 45 minutes in. I heard a loud, desperate cry, followed by the sound of something heavy falling, Probably Brenda's designer leather bag. Then, a shriek. This is deliberate. You did this, didn't you, narrator name? She had somehow stumbled onto a viewing mound I'd built deep inside the structure. Ironically, the only place high enough to get reception, and must have glimpsed my house. I just smiled, raising my hand in a small, polite wave from my window. Excuse me, ma'am. One of the sweaty, tired surveyors called out. According to the county documents we just pulled up on our phones, this property is legally registered as the Labyrinth of Liberty, a recreational maze structure. Entering it means you accept the terms of entry, which include getting lost, naturally. A maze? What is this nonsense? I could almost taste Brenda's disbelief. Her voice, now ragged and hoarse, screamed, I demand to see the manager. I am the president of the association. This is an intentional obstruction. I will sue you for everything you own. The raw, animal fury in her voice was almost tangible, making the hair stand up on my arms. The heat was relentless, the sun beating down on the high green walls, and the boys looked utterly defeated, resting against the sorghum stalks, gulping water. They didn't even try to hide the fact they were lost anymore. It took the local sheriff's department, called by a panicked Brenda who claimed she was being held captive by rural terrorists. 2 hours to navigate the pre-designated emergency access path I had included in the official plans, a path Brenda was too proud to use. When they finally emerged, Brenda looked like a drowned rat, covered in pollen. Her designer clothes snagged, her makeup smeared down her face like war paint. The sheriff, a jovial man named Deputy Rick, simply shook his head. Ma'am, the owner followed every letter of the law. You trespassed into a registered recreational facility. You have no legal recourse except perhaps a change of clothes. The sight of Brenda being utterly and publicly defeated, her power completely neutralized by a piece of zoning paperwork, was sweeter than any revenge fantasy I could have conjured. Later that week, Brenda resigned from the Homeowners Association board, citing unforeseen health complications and the trauma of rural agricultural structures. The silence of her absence was a welcome balm. My maze, now famous, became a local curiosity, attracting visitors and generating a small, legitimate income that further cemented its legal status. I finally understood the core of the fight. When bureaucracy and malice try to constrict your life, you don't fight fire with fire. You fight it with meticulous paperwork and a sense of absurd, glorious defiance. Don't ever let anyone tell you what you can or can't do with the land you own. The justice wasn't just in her defeat. It was in reclaiming my peace, my space, and proving that sometimes the most intricate, beautiful trap is simply the truth, hidden in plain sight. What a beautiful, confusing thing freedom is.